If you ever need to draw a line in between two paragraphs, these two right here, because let's say the one up above is an entirely different thought than the one down below, so you want to border it off, draw a line in between the two because it doesn't transition. Well, go ahead and click in between the two paragraphs. You could go ahead and hold down the Shift key and hit the underscore key several times, but that's going to take too long. Let's go ahead and hit undo. Instead, you can use the border feature. And to do that, come up here on the Home tab to the paragraph group. Let me turn on the Show Hide Codes first because the border feature works in conjunction with these paragraph codes. So wherever there's a paragraph, you can add a border either above the paragraph or below it, to the right, to the left. Come back up here and there's the border feature. Click on the corresponding drop-down arrow and you can see that you can place a border at the bottom of the paragraph, above it, to the left, to the right. Let's do the bottom. And you can see there we go. It's at the bottom of the paragraph. Let me go ahead and turn off the codes here so we can see what it looks like. And well, if I want it above, so the line's right below this paragraph, then I can do it one of two ways. I can either stay within this paragraph, come back up here, click on the drop-down arrow and say, okay, place the border on top, in which case I still have the bottom border, so I may want to click on the drop-down arrow and say no borders and then try that again. Click on the drop-down arrow and say top, or let me click on the drop-down arrow and say no border and come up here and click in the paragraph above it and say that I want a border right below that, okay? So you can see how you can work with that, either the paragraph below or the one above it, to get your line in between the two paragraphs. Visibly speaking, in between these two paragraphs, invisible, or when I turn on the codes, in between these two paragraph markers here, okay? Let me go ahead and turn those off. Now if I didn't know any better and I opened up the document and I'm like, I don't like that line there, let me delete it. There may be times you're able to delete those lines, those borders, but if you can't, then again, you want to come up here and click on the corresponding drop-down arrow and say no border. But if I didn't know that this border was being applied to the paragraph up above and I assumed it's the one below, when I click in that paragraph and click on the drop-down arrow and say no border and it doesn't remove it, then you'll know that it's the one above. Go ahead and click anywhere in that paragraph above and click on the drop-down arrow and say no border and it removes it. Don't forget that when you click on the drop-down arrow, you also have other options like the left border. Click on the drop-down arrow, the right border. In any case, to get rid of those, again, no border. You also have the option of doing some customizations by coming down here and clicking on borders and shading. Now make sure that your cursor is flashing the paragraph that you want to apply this to. So let's go down to the second paragraph here and then click on the drop-down arrow and go down to borders and shading. First of all, we're on the borders tab and you can go ahead and by default it doesn't have a border around the paragraph, and you can see that when we do select a border, it's going to be applied to the entire paragraph, or the paragraph marker, everything to the left and above it. So if I go ahead and click on the box, you can see over in the preview window, it adds it and draws a box around the entire paragraph. And then you can go ahead and select a color like maybe red and change the width to maybe a half, makes it thinner. And then maybe we want some shading. So come over here, click on the shading tab and say you want a fill color. There's the preview window, so we have a red border around the paragraph, and say we want something a lighter shade there. And again, it's still being applied to the paragraph, so when I click OK, there you go. Ooh, that's pretty fancy. And then if I want to go ahead and customize that because I don't like it, and again, thinking that if you didn't see this training video and you're going, how do I get rid of the border around this paragraph, or how do I delete the color within it? I mean, that's kind of crazy. Just go ahead and click within the paragraph here, and now because you watched the training video, you know where to go. Come back up here to the paragraph group, and there's the border and shading button because it remembers the last place that we were at. So instead of clicking on the drop-down arrow and coming down here, and you see the icon there, let me click off in the blank area, just click on it right here and it pulls up the same window. So if you need to make some changes, you can go crazy on this. You can come over here in the preview window and click on the border to remove it, and then go ahead and let's say that we want a thicker border, maybe 3-point, and let's change the color to, let's say, blue, and then click on the left border. I mean, like I said, you can go crazy. You can have a different color for this border, different thickness, and that border. I mean, just go ahead and click to remove or click to add, and click to change the color and the width of it, and even the style here. And let me click above. I mean, ooh, that's kind of kooky. And then you got some additional options here, like if I click on the options button, you're looking in the preview window and it says, well, from the top of the border, where do you want your text? And then it says from the text, do you want from the top of the border? You can go ahead and do 8 points. And notice how the text is separated from the border by about 9 points. Click OK, and there you go. You got some space in between the top border. You've got these kooky borders, blue on both sides, a dashed line up at the top, red one down below. In any case, And then, like I said, to get rid of it, click on the corresponding drop-down arrows. Say you want no border. There's your highlighting that's still there, but you can click on the drop-down arrow and say you want to go to Borders and Shading. Go to the Shading tab and say that you want no color. Click Okie dokie, and we're back to where we started. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.